What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from GoBundance. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber. Today, I had a great time chatting with a gentleman named Dale Corpus, GoBundance member out of the San Francisco Bay Area. Incredible story. Came from a family of five in a one-bedroom apartment. His family immigrated from the Philippines when he was young. Actually, he was born here, but his family immigrated from the Philippines, all the way up through where he is today as a realtor, a mortgage broker, and the sort of the movements he made through that process and the skills he picked up along the way. We kind of dive deep on that, along with what's happening in the submarkets within an area like San Francisco. What's the condo market doing versus the the single family home market? It was really interesting to have a discussion on that and where he sees things going in a market like that, or if you're in a Boston or New York or Miami, or wherever these hot markets are, these large cities are. We had a really good discussion on that. He's got a great energy. You're going to get a lot of great advice out of him on how he got to where he is today. And we chatted about everything from lattes and coffee to passive investing and everything in between. So I really hope you enjoy this interview with the podcast host of the School of Cash Flow podcast, Dale Corpus. Be sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, drop a comment, let us know what you got out of today's interview with my friend Dale. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to be here today with a guy from the San Francisco Bay Area that we just had a chance to chit chat and get to know each other. He's been in GoBundance about a year. He's a realtor. He's a mortgage broker. He's an investor. He's a podcast host. He's everything. He does it all. Dale Corpus, brother, welcome.
Well, hey, Jamie, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. So let's start with a little backstory on you. You're a San Francisco Bay Area guy. Is that where you're from? Kind of start there and take us through today.
Yeah, I was born and raised in San Francisco, Bay Area. I never left. I was born in San Francisco. Like my parents immigrated here from the Philippines. My older sister was born out over in the Philippines. I was born here. I didn't realize how much we didn't have until like later on in life. But it's like I literally lived in a one-bedroom apartment, me and my two siblings, my parents, probably up until I was 6 or 7 years old in San Francisco. And I didn't go outside that much, actually, because my parents were always working, just trying to make the American dream happen for us. I even learned how to ride my own bicycle in our one-bedroom apartment. Cool factoid. And anyway, from there, as they started getting on with their careers. My mom was a administrative assistant, and my dad ended up being a sales rep for like a chemical company. We ended up being able to move into a house and whatnot, but it was around the time when I started going to school, I realized that we really didn't have that much. And I was just always, driven to just, figure out how to make money even for myself, even as I grew up and all that kind of stuff. But, I was always an opportunist. And in fact, when I went to college, what I do right now is not even related to what I studied in college. I remember that I wanted to take advantage of like the dot-com boom that was happening at the time, but I was just a little bit too late. I graduated with a degree from Santa Clara University in electrical engineering, and I was super stoked to get it. It was really hard to get. But I think I'm one of my skill sets is I'm good at taking tests. I remember when I graduated, I got a job right away, but then the crash happened in 2001. I was like, oh, that didn't work out. But the funny thing is that I remember my parents. I think it was my mom. My senior year of college, she randomly said, I want you to get your real estate license. And I thought that was coming out of nowhere because I had no interest in anything related to real estate. But both my parents had their real estate licenses, but they didn't really do anything with it. They just had it, part-time or whatever. I think it was like their friends had their licenses and they did it too because their friends were doing it. But anyhow, I ended up getting my license that summer I graduated from college or whatnot. And so a year later, when the bust happened, I actually got laid off from like a hardware engineering job. I was like, I think things happen for a reason. And I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Because I one of the things that I didn't like when I had my first engineering job was I was with a lot of smart, with a lot of tech nerds, tech geeks. And I was like, I don't fit in because I don't relate to their conversations over at, during lunch or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure I'm smart, but in a different way. But I was just more so obsessed with how to figure out how to buy a home in the San Francisco Bay Area, because yes, it's expensive now, but back then I already thought everything was so expensive. It's all really relative. And I was like, this is what I want to learn how to do. And so when I got laid off, I was like, I think, I thought it was actually kind of a blessing at the same time, because it was like freedom from, I don't like this job. And I know that at the time, Office Space, the movie, was already out. I'm like, I felt like I was in Office Space anyways. And so I left, and I could have either been a realtor at the time or a mortgage broker. And I didn't have enough money to pay for real estate dues. So I went the route of becoming a loan officer. And that was a really cool experience for me. I ended up working at a lot of the big banks in downtown San Francisco, like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Countrywide, which ended up becoming, getting bought out by Bank of America. But like, I didn't have any like sales, background or training or whatnot, but through that experience, I was able to meet a lot of people. The networking was great, obviously, because I was working with bank clients, and I was really able to learn how to talk to people. And I was like, oh, they actually like me, and they're buying things from me. And so I think I got really good at explaining options and what they can do and what they can't do and whatnot. And so I started off in the real estate world just by originating mortgages. And I remember things were so fun. I mean, money was so easy to be had back then. And obviously this was before the crash and everything like that. And but when the crash happened, which I knew was going to happen because it was just a little bit too easy to get people approved. And I couldn't meet my quotas in the bank anymore. Nobody fit the guidelines. Everybody's properties were underwater, even my own properties. And I was like, I need a way to, to basically transform myself into something else. And I just remember a few of my clients started asking me about, could you help me with the loan modification, or can you help me do a short sale or whatever? And then I was like, I think I can. I have my license. It's like, let's try to be a realtor. And so I suddenly was a realtor. I didn't even, overnight, literally almost. And so it's just my very first two sales were short sale listings. And I was like, oh, I think I could do this. And it felt like it was like doing a loan plus a real estate transaction all together. I was like, oh, I think this is my calling. When I got into real estate, it was not hard to get the business because I already had all these contacts. So it's like one of the things that I've learned that is my skill set is just my ability to kind of keep in touch with everybody and just the relationship building. And I was like, wow, this is like, I already had a business. But so that's how I still do mortgages as well, but I love the real estate aspect of just being as a realtor, because it's like you get to meet the people in person and, hang out with them and, really, really get to know them, where I'm not able to do that as much on the mortgage side. But it's been a very, a very fun ride. I mean, I'm still doing real estate full time. I now have a sales team that I'm growing. And I've been a solo agent for such a long time. And it's just recently now that I've been building this team. So now it's like I'm moving from like a me business to like a we business, with assistants and whatnot. So it's just been really fun, and I'm enjoying it every step of the way.
Love it. San Francisco Bay Area, like you said, it's historically been a very pricey market. You hear all about in COVID, this exodus, if you will, from California, New York, kind of the tried and true blue states, if you will, coastal markets, to warmer pastures, lower tax climates, all of that stuff. What are you seeing right now in your business? I mean, you're growing your business, obviously. Are prices down? Is the market hot in San Francisco still? Like, what does it look like? How true, or how much do you feel this news story of the great exodus from California and all of that at this point, if at all?
Okay, so you're right. It's still very expensive right now, and it's like I don't necessarily work in San Francisco proper, but I can tell you that in San Francisco, like there's different markets going on there. Like, for example, there's the condo market and there's the detached single family home market. I can tell you that the condo market has gotten depressed. I do own a condo there myself that's a rental. So it's gone down in value, and the rents for the condo have also gone down in value. But the thing is, detached single family homes in San Francisco is still going up. People are valuing the land and what you can do with it and whatnot. So I live in San Ramon in the East Bay, which is about 40 minutes east of San Francisco. It's a really nice suburb. But the funny thing about what COVID did to where I live in the East Bay for real estate homes and values and whatnot is that it skyrocketed them. Okay, so basically the value now is in land because the buyers where I live in the East Bay, they're mainly coming from San Francisco or Silicon Valley and whatnot, which are about 40 minutes, hour away from where I'm at, but they get even they think that where I live is affordable when it's really not. At the same time though too, it's all relative. But they realize that they can get a nice single family home, versus just getting what maybe a smaller one or a larger townhome for the same price. And so what's been very, very interesting about selling real estate locally where I personally live is that now where I live, it feels like Silicon Valley and whatnot, where you have to be super aggressive, both in terms of, your price, and you really, it's hard to even get your offer accepted if you had a contingency in anything your offer. So it's just like it wasn't like that before, where a lot of times my buyers, where we're making offers out of it here, I have to coach them of how aggressive it is. Like having a loan appraisal or inspection contingency in your offer is almost like the kiss of death sometimes when you're competing with 10, 20 other offers and everybody's got money. This is the Bay Area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, insane. The condo market downtown, you mentioned you being an owner of one.
Yeah.
Are you seeing any sparks of life? I just wonder with COVID fatigue. I've had this theory, like, living in Boston previously, like an urban environment. I love it. I loved living downtown. It was the best time of my life. My wife and I one day, wished our kids are grown. We want to go back to a downtown condo type life. With the fatigue of COVID, it feels like now, new variants popping up, all that stuff. Are you seeing any sparks of life in that market? Are people starting to kind of, maybe hedge back downtown at all, or is there still an exodus, or is it stable? Like where is it right now?
I do still see some signs of life. I mean, stuff is open. And then what I think about San Francisco, it's always been a boom and bust city. I mean, think about, just everything that's been going on, even even during like the gold rush days, it's a boom and bust city. It's just like, it will bounce back.
Yeah.
It's such an international city. Everybody loves it. So much culture out of there. Same thing with the real estate. It's like, it's happened before. It's like San Francisco will still have that charm to it. And I'm not even like keeping that condo in the city is something that I wanted to potentially I want to keep it actually because I want to be able to potentially live there even when I'm older too. You know what I mean? Because it's San Francisco. But I do feel that, some of the, it's not as busy as it used to be pre-COVID, but there's life, there's activity. People still want to move there. Yes, people are still moving out, but overall, the values have not really been affected in the Bay Area, which doesn't sound logical, but it's that way. Yeah.
I love how you've extracted along your journey, what I heard at least, lessons. So, in the mortgage space, you learned how to network and interact and build that community around you, and that you took that to serve you as a realtor. And so, like you've just built skills. It seems like you're a skill builder as you've gone through all of this. And you mentioned that, growing up unknowingly in maybe meager way, like a 1 bedroom for a family of 5. I mean, that's, to your point, like now you're really
big at the time. The funny thing is, it felt big at the time because
that's crazy.
That was all I knew.
Yeah, exactly. It's all perspective. But you said about, when you realized going to school, like, we didn't have much, and you focused really in on, wow, how do I make money? When did that first? Was it in college? Was it in the mortgage game? When did that instinct, that desire, that I almost put it like, it sounds like you wanted to make sure that there was not going to be scarcity in your life. When did that first show up? Were you trading cards in school, lemonade stands, newspaper routes, or was that something that really, really you came into your entrepreneurial own once you hit college and after? When did that kind of manifest for you?
Okay. So I was always, I'm going to say more so it happened after college, but like, maybe like when I was younger, I was always trying to figure out how I could make something happen on the side. I mean, I was trying to do newspaper routes and whatnot, and I was trying to, I was actually trying to sell newspapers at first, and I thought I would never be able to do sales because nobody would ever buy from me. So I'm like, it's funny how I sell right now, but but I think it was more so. It was more so after college when I got that, real estate bug, and the real estate bug of like, how do I buy right now? And I was like, wow, I really need a lot of money to buy in the Bay Area. And I think it was at that point when I'm like, we need to make this happen. And I think that's when the hustle grew in me. And then here I am now, but I didn't really have any businesses per se prior to college, but it was afterwards. I mean, most of my friends are in tech. Like, I'm one of the only ones that is an entrepreneur. I mean, I say entrepreneur because I feel like I'm more of an entrepreneur than I am like a mortgage broker or a realtor, because I happen just to be in real estate. I'm like a real estate entrepreneur. It's just like, when you did my intro, it's like I like to wear a lot of different hats, but the cool thing is everything's related to real estate. I mean, I just get bored doing one thing. I can't sit still. I think I have ADD. I don't know if it's good or bad.
Well, it was kind of fits into my next question though a little bit. Like, when you have that moment in school where you realize like, oh wow, 1-bedroom apartment for a family of 5, that's not, that's small, or we're not living that big all of a sudden. Does that show up today? Like, is there any sort of, like how much of the grind of your parents, that immigrant story that they have coming here and starting from nothing and making it into something and providing the life for you? I mean, you learned to ride your bike in your apartment, for God's sake. I mean, that's such an incredible, it's incredible. I mean, you did it, but your parents really worked their way to get to you to where you need to be. But you had revelations, moments along the way where it sounds like, especially in school, where you realized, oh wow, we're not where I think we could be, or I guess we're not where I thought I could be. Is there anything that shows up today for you from that? Is there any, I don't want to call it trauma, but is there any sort of lessons from your parents or moments from the past that still drive you to this day?
I just remember that when I was a kid, that like, I remember I wanted an Atari for years.
Yeah,
we could never get it because it's just, I wanted an Atari, and like every kid loves video games. And I just remember for years, my parents couldn't afford it and whatnot. And I didn't understand money back then. And I didn't ever wanted that to be an issue for when I had kids and whatnot. And I just wanted to be able to provide and just life to be, full of abundance and whatnot. I don't live in a scarcity mindset right now. Okay. I feel very blessed with the skill sets I picked up, the lessons I've learned from the people I've met, because I think, I don't know, life's about all the relationships of people that have helped you along the way. And I feel so fortunate for everything that has happened. So, to me, I mean, like even joining GoBundance was like, I joined it on a whim because one of my friends that, that's, I'm big into fitness. It was one of my friends that I met through CrossFit actually, decided to join GoBundance, and he's like, we're really good buddies. I'm like, I don't want to miss out because you're going to be having fun. I want to see what it's going to be like too. And I'm like, I joined GoBundance not even knowing what it was truly about. But now that I'm in, I'm not leaving. It's just like, it's just like I was like, these are the coolest people ever. And I feel like they're more like me. And I more people to talk about like business and just talking about, goals in my life with that I can't necessarily talk about with even the people that I, went to college or whatnot with, because we relate at a different level. And I know you understand what I mean because you're in it too.
Yep. Can you expand that a little bit though? Because I talk to a lot of guys, and that's common. That's such a common thing. Like I just can't have the conversations in my regular network. So I completely get what you mean.
Yeah.
But for those listening, what do you mean by that? Can't have.
Yeah.
So why can't you talk about your goals, or why can't you talk about a financial win or a business win or whatever with sort of your network of friends that are outside of GoBundance? Why can't you?
Well, you know what it is? I mean, part of it's that one sheet. It's like, that one sheet, I think it's a rite of passage when you have to present like your one sheet to a group of people you don't even know. It's like you are like just rubbing yourself fully and like talking about your net worth, your money, how'd you make your money, like, what all your assets are and whatnot. And it like it the very first time it's weird, but after that, when you realize everybody's doing it, then you're okay with it and you're like, oh, we could still be friends, and you guys are still cool with me, I'm still cool with you. You're not any different just because I know how much you make, and I'm not going to treat you any differently, and you're not going to treat me any differently. So it's very accepted. You guys have formed your own culture regarding that, so it's just like we're all open about it. And I think that once I got over that, even with my own GoPod, for example, I'm like, oh, it's we could move on and we could really help each other. All of us have different skill sets, and we could just give each other input in our lives. And I think I'm going to attribute it right now just mainly to that one sheet at first, because without that, I think that was a really that's like the icebreaker of all icebreakers. You know what I
mean? We're conditioned, really. I know I was, at least, in my upbringing, and a lot of guys I know are as well. Like, you don't talk about certain things like that. It's bragging. It's this, it's that. Right? You don't talk about money or like your private assets, like what you own and all of that stuff. So it is a bit, like you said, there's a culture shift in that when you sit in a group of men that are openly talking about this. And I've had guys ask me, like, are guys like flexing in GoBundance? Like, yeah, I make this much. I'm like, I guess that's really up to you, how you perceive them talking about their lives. If the numbers sound big or the trips they take sound amazing to you, that's just their life. It's like anybody saying, yeah, I make 80 grand a year or 20 grand a year or whatever. It's the same thing if I'm making 1.5 a year. And I don't know. The way I've couched it is, I think there's, in a one sheet share in my regular network might breed things like envy, versus in GoBundance there's appreciation for what you've accomplished, or it might breed avoidance of the topic where there's engagement with GoBundance. Does that make sense? Like, I think there's just a different dynamic there.
Yeah, it does. Because now, like, initially when I first joined GoBundance, like, yeah, I at first I thought people were flexing, but now that I'm in it more, I actually think people are very genuine and real, and I applaud everybody, that has done well for themselves. And you know why? Because I think it's very empowering. It's empowering because it's like, I know that I could get there too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if somebody in the group has achieved, so much success and whatnot, and it's kind of like, I feel that, like, I have access to all the resources and the people and whatnot to make the same things happen for myself, and I want people to pull me up. I want to know what they did, and I actually want to I want to know them. And I think that in itself, joining GoBundance this year, again, I've been with GoBundance for like almost a year now, and it's really just pulled me up and given me a new raise my baseline of what's possible. There's people younger than me that are in it. There's people that are older than me in it. We're all on a different journey. It's like I'm still kind of like, I feel like I just finished my freshman year. There's people that they're on grad school level over in GoBundance. I get that. I'm not there yet. It's just like different levels of learning along the way. It seems like everybody's doing so many things. I never thought I'd have a podcast, by the way, for example. And like that happened this year. Part of it is because I'm like, wow, people could have a podcast and write a book and still be successful and be like kick-ass dads and stuff like that. And I'm like, they could do this all. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to do one thing at a time. But I'm like, it's still more than what I would have done before if I wasn't in GoBundance. And I'm like, I'm looking at everything that I've accomplished this year and like the people I've met, I'm like, wow, what a bit different, what a change. I'm like, I'm different too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you said, it's not magic. It's not like there's some moment pivot. Sometimes there is. Like, oh, this really set me in the direction. But it is one of those things where you kind of dive in, you get to know some folks, you hear what's going on, you're taking action, then you look back and go like, wow, I'm further than I was, or I feel like I would have been prior to. So, and by the way, I'm on my third freshman year, so I'm with you.
Well, like, yeah. So,
still trying to get to grad school. Still trying to get to grad school. Trying to get to my sophomore year, for that matter. I'd love to get there. So,
no, it's just like, no. What I think that the GoBundance has been really good for me too. It's like, here's the thing. It's like one of the things that I wish I knew more before, like when I was, doing mortgages and, real estate is like, I think that I could have grown faster if I like leveraged people more and just, had better, even, more experienced mentors and whatnot, because I was of the mindset before, which I'm not now, where I had to know everything about everything just to start something new,
Sure.
to get into an investment, for example. But it's really not the case. I feel like you need to surround yourself now with people that that are more successful than you, and just really mimic them and just be around them. Being around them is already going to elevate you enough. It's like they'll help you more than you trying to figure everything out yourself.
Yeah, it's fine. My dive into the crypto market, I credit to that. Like I don't know. I'm trying to learn, but then I was just literally sitting with a guy, Sergio, and he's like, dude, open a BlockFi account. Do this, click this, transfer there. You own Ethereum. I'm like, oh, okay. Simple stuff like that all the way up through, right? So yeah, no,
just do it. Yeah, you're
just
like,
do it.
just do it. They got your back.
Exactly. And then it went down the next day. I wanted to kill him, but no, it's okay. It's up now. It's up now. So I'm good. All right, let's do some one sheet discussion here. Let's start with the horizontal income pillar. And you tell me what you want to share here. You can share how much in horizontal income or how many streams or both. Just tell me a little bit about your horizontal income strategy and where you are today.
Okay, got it. So I am mainly invested in real estate syndications. I have one rental property. So prior to getting into real estate syndications and mortgage notes, I should say, I used to do out-of-state rentals. And when I realized that there were more work than I thought and whatnot, after, getting getting my education about syndications and whatnot through podcasts, for example,
Sure.
I realized that, commercial real estate syndications, at least for me, because I wanted to keep, my day-to-day business and whatnot, were a way to go. That was a lot more passive and whatnot. So my syndications are in some multifamily, workforce housing, self-storage, mobile home parks. And a lot of and some of my syndications are actually also in mortgage note funds. Prior to getting into the real estate syndications, I got exposed to mortgage notes first, that I was doing a lot in my self-directed IRA, because I got introduced to it because one of my business partners, he used to refer me real estate business because he had his license, but he didn't really sell anymore. He was a note broker, and I actually, as a way of thanking him for the business, I'll just buy some of your notes. And I'm like, I just wish I met him sooner, because it was like, oh, these are the easiest things to do. I don't need to do anything. But it's like, that just really that opened my eyes to just, what else can I do that's similar to this? And that's when I started listening to podcasts and learning about other types of syndications in real estate and whatnot. So I thank him for that. And so my passive income is still growing and whatnot. It's like a lot of the stuff that I initially started with investing in syndications and whatnot was in my self-directed IRA, which has grown sizably. And now I'm doing more stuff now just outside my IRA, because it makes more sense and whatnot. But
that makes sense. Help me with this, because I understand the multifamily workforce housing, self-storage, mobile home, like that syndication model. I completely understand what I'm investing. I'm syndicating. I'm partnered up with 3 other GoBundance guys on syndicating a fund right now. So we're, on multifamily. So I get that. I honestly don't understand, and maybe it's my own ignorance, how a mortgage note fund works. Like, what are you investing in with can you break that down for me? Because I think there's some people that don't understand that as well.
Yeah, I mean, so 2 types of notes. There's performing notes and non-performing notes. So when I say a note, it's basically a mortgage. Yep. Okay, so for sake of discussion, say my self-directed IRA owns the mortgage, so it gets paid the interest and whatnot. And so a a performing note's easy because that's like, that's one where when you take it over, the borrower has already been paying on time, has a track history of a good payment, so you're just receiving the income stream, period. Okay. Usually the returns on them, are lower. I mean, it's lower because it's less riskier than the non-performing notes. Non-performing notes are a little bit different because the borrower is not paying. Okay. And basically what note investors do, okay, is that we're like, I don't do my own non-performing note negotiations, by the way. So I like invest. I basically am picking the operator, and I've worked with the same operator for many years right now, for example, to do all of the negotiation. But like on the non-performing note side, they're basically working directly with an asset manager to buy the notes at a discount. Many times, many times the notes too might be the value of the loan is greater than the value of the home. Sometimes it's not, but if it is, you could negotiate, a certain percentage of what the market value is, or just, the discount of the note. So it's like by the time that you do attain it, it actually makes sense for you. Because here's the funny thing about a non-performing note: even though the borrower is not paying, you could actually, if you bought it at enough of a discount, you could actually, the first course of action is trying to get that borrower to pay again, okay, at a modified loan, loan modification type of deal. Because if they start paying, if you bought it at a right price, you're actually making money. Okay. What I love about the non-performing notes is that there's so many different types of exit strategies for them, and different ways to make money if they don't, if they don't pay again. I mean, but if they did start paying again, you could actually resell it as a performing note later on after 12 months. Or if they didn't pay, then you could actually, do other things. As you could foreclose on it if you wanted to. You could do cash for keys. It's like you could do many other things, and you could eventually have the property if you wanted to. But it's just like, a lot of times the first course of action is to get the borrowers to pay again, and it's been the returns on them. Obviously, like there's more work involved in them. But the returns on them are much greater than what you would get from a performing note. And because there's so much legwork involved in the negotiations of what you could do with it and whatnot, I don't have the time to do that. I mean, I'm busy out there selling, homes and, brokering loans or whatnot. But so it's funny because I do loans, but I do it from the origination side. I don't do it from that other side. And I'm not the best operator when it comes to negotiating anything on a non-performing note, but I know people that are. So I partner up with them, and it's been really great. And it's really been very beneficial to the growth of my self-directed IRA.
Now, that makes sense. And that's a great point too. I'm doing that with my EQRP, trying to grow that through these different investment vehicles other than just, some index fund. But who owns these notes? I guess is the core of my question. So is this like a local bank portfolio, not sold to Fannie Freddie, that they own the performing notes, they're looking to recapitalize so they can lend more? Like, who owns the notes, performing or non-performing, that you're actually investing in?
Okay, got it. A lot of times it's on the bank's portfolio, and they're just selling the entire tape of them.
Got it.
To somebody that's going to buy them all. It's actually easier for. Sometimes people can buy, notes, performing and non-performing one-offs, but a lot of times the best deals if you're buying the entire tape. It's like, during the REO days, it's like you hear of REO tapes. Well, there's note tapes. You can buy the entire tape, and then whether they're good or bad, it's like you get a good deal by buying the entire lot and just figuring out all of them at the same time. So it's those types of funds that I'm mainly investing in. These they get the entire tape, and they're just negotiating through all of them, and I love them. I mean, I love them. Yeah. Notes are great in your self-directed IRA, and like all the stuff I'm doing outside is not note related. I don't do notes outside of my IRA because they're tax advantaged to be in there. I mean, I can't depreciate them or anything like that with some of the other syndications.
I was going to ask that. Is this something like, the structure of a syndication or a fund for notes? are you able to depreciate the underlying asset like in a bonus depreciation? It sounds like no. And then are you, oh, there was another question. Are you able to depreciate the underlying asset that the note is based on? Oh, and is it split the same way, like a regular multifamily syndicate? Is it like a 70-30 owner? Like, what does that look like?
It depends. Like, so sometimes there's, because my notes with different operators set up different ways. Like one of them is I'm a JV partner where I provide the capital, and the guy I partner up with, he does all the negotiation, and it's a 50-50 split. Okay. I have other ones that are set up literally as a syndication. Okay. And I'm, again, I know the operator directly and whatnot, and done, repeat syndications and whatnot, and mortgage note pools with him and whatnot. And so we just get paid when things sell off. And they're, and then we have a split up, like off the top of my head, I think it's about 70-30 split. And so that one feels really like a normal syndication versus me doing a JV partnership with somebody where it's like a 50-50 split.
Interesting. Thanks for going down that rabbit hole, man. That was I've heard of note funds and notes. I've just never done
No,
it.
not a problem. I noticed I haven't bumped into many no investors inside GoBundit. So it's just always an interesting topic when I'm talking about it, because not as many people are talking about it.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right, let's roll over to the health garden. So talk about body weight, body fat percentage. Let's start there. How are you doing on the health side?
This year much better than last year, because COVID took a toll on my body, and but you're talking right now, it's like I'm actually really lean. Okay, so right now I'm hovering around 178, 180 pounds. Like during COVID, I was about 206. I've always been, well, thank you. Like my body fat percentage probably around 12-13%. I've always been into fitness and working out. On the life happiness index, for example, the only thing that I scored a 10 was exercise. I'm a workoutaholic.
What does that look like? CrossFit?
So it's like I used to do so I swim every day. I'm part of a master's swim club, and I grew up. I did swimming in from when I was a kid through high school, but I stopped, and I got back into swimming in the last 4 years, but before I got back to swimming, I was doing CrossFit for a decade, and I was a power lifter. But the last 4 years, I got back into swimming, and like now, I didn't realize this was going to happen to me, but like I swim open water now. I did 2 open water swims this year. One was Alcatraz, and it was my 3rd time doing Alcatraz, but it was my first time doing it without a wetsuit. And man, was it cold. But it's like I just like to test myself to the limits. But and I'm gonna do it again next year.
Like, what do you mean Alcatraz?
So the way the Alcatraz swim works, this is a very popular swim, obviously.
Yeah.
And so you take the ferry, from one of the piers, and then they bring you out to where Alcatraz is, and then you just jump off the ferry, and then you all start at the same time, and then there you go. So the swim itself it's really not that long. It's about 1.2 miles, but with all of the current, it's really choppy, etc. You end up probably swimming about 1.5 miles. And there are sharks in the bay. The funny thing is, when I think about them, it makes me swim faster. So motivation. So I do a lot of swimming. I swim about 1.5 miles a day, at least, and I hike, and I have almost a CrossFit type of gym in my house, but I haven't been able to work out in my home gym as much, just because I'm busy working my businesses, you know what I mean? But like I always swim every day, and I love, what I love about swimming, by the way, is that it's the only thing where I'm fully disconnected, because I can't bring my cell phone into the water. I think that's a good thing. It's very zen for me. And it's like a stretch, and it's physically demanding at the same time. So I love it. I love hiking as well. Another cool event that I did this year was called 29029. I did it over in near Salt Lake City, Utah. at Snow Basin Resort, and it's something that's put on by Jesse Itzler, and what they do is they try to simulate climbing Mount Everest. So going up Mount Everest is like an ascent of about 30 miles. And so like for 29029, they have you go up a mountain, like off the top of my head, about 16 times over at this location over at Snow Basin in Utah. And I actually, by the way, I did this trip directly after the steamboat trip. I flew directly from there to go do this 29029, which I thought was interesting. But I was training for it, most of the year. But the only thing, I'm strong enough to finish it, but what got me, and I didn't finish it, and I hate to say that, but I will do it again, is the elevation aspect. So I live I live in the Bay Area. It's like I'm not exposed to high elevation. I used to have asthma as a kid, but it came back during that hike, and I didn't have an inhaler and nobody had one. And I just, even if I had an inhaler, I knew that it probably wouldn't have, sufficed for the entire 30 miles. And so I had to stop. I was halfway done. I was really discouraged. It was one of those things I was almost embarrassed about, because it's like I finished things, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm all telling you guys right now, but I'll be back, because it's just like it was a very cool event. It really pushes you to what what can you do, and and I actually met really cool people along the way, even during the ascents. One of them was already a guest on my podcast, which is really funny.
That is cool. That's the networking piece, right? That's what you've done all your life. You've met and mingled, and that's how you built. It sounds like a lot of how you built what you have today is just.
No, it is. It's just like you never know who you're going to meet. I mean, heck, I'm meeting you for the first time right here.
That's right. And then Park City, we'll see each other, which is great.
Yeah, that's true. And and it just is really cool. It's just like you never know what'll come out of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about from a family side? What's that look like? Single guy, married, in a relationship, kids? Give me all that stuff. Where are you right now?
No, good question. So yeah, I'm married and I have two boys. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. So like my interesting thing is I initially met my wife in college, but we didn't get together until after college. And here we are now with two boys, and she's also from the Bay Area too, born and raised. Like, we're so different, but I think it's a cool thing. Meaning, I'm such the go-getter and like the entrepreneurial spirit and whatnot, and she's more grounded and more conservative. But like, it works for me. I need somebody else because I feel like she balances me out really well.
Yin to your yang. I have 6 and 3-year-old boys. Any advice for the next 4 or 5 years before my kids are your kids' age?
I feel like we have similar kids. I mean, they're full of energy, right? Yeah. And like, just, keep up with them. Stay just keep working out and stay fit. It's like, I mean, it's just like, you don't need to swim as much as me, but it's just like, I just want to keep up with them and make sure I can hang with them. It's like, I'm having a lot of fun with my kids, and my kids, I hope that they see that I'm having, a fun time just being an adult in my life. I mean, funny thing is, like, right when we got on the show, it's just like, you saw that I do, TikToks and reels and stuff. I did my first TikTok with my younger son because he wanted to do one with me. And I just thought it was so funny. He was so funny because he sees that I'm having fun with him, and he wanted to know what it was like. He was like, I want to do that again.
Yeah. Hey, the Dancing Dale. I saw you with your TikToks. You got rhythm, brother. You got rhythm.
It's like, well, I hope so. It's like, we all got rhythm in us.
I guess so.
We all got some sort of rhythm in us.
I
just put it out on Reels.
Yep. No, yeah, they're the best algorithm on Instagram. That's for sure. Yeah. So let's talk about the School of Cash Flow in the time we have left here, because I want to hear a little bit about what you're doing. You said you started this podcast this year. You're having guests on. It's an interview style format. What is the podcast School of Cash Flow? Tell me a little bit about it.
You know what it was? Okay, so I started it because I wanted a way to, it's multifaceted, because I wanted a way to expose people that are in my network, especially my clients. I'm not an investment property type of client here in the Bay Area. I mainly work with a lot of move up buyers. I do the buy and the sell. It's just like, and we're caught up in the transaction where we really can't talk about anything else. But a lot of people are connected with me on social media. Social media is big for me, by the way. where I wanted to be able to like at least, put out there what I'm doing with investments, of like another part of me that's real estate related that I don't necessarily talk about when I'm doing their real estate transaction or their mortgage transaction or whatever. I want them to know that I'm investing in notes and doing these syndications, and like there's a way to invest in real estate that doesn't need to be as active, since a lot of these people want to keep their tech jobs, you know what I mean? But I'm just I was trying to do it as a way for them to expose them to ideas, maybe diversify out of tech stock and all this stuff. Okay. So I started off with just interviewing people that, that some of the people I've invested with, or sometimes I'm interviewing people, in areas like short-term rentals where I want to learn more about. And so it's also for selfish reasons, because I too am in the process of learning. And as you know, in a podcast like you're doing with me, you get to ask anything that you want. So it's just like I have their captive attention for an hour. So no, it's been really great. I've learned a lot along the way. I've even networked with even more GoBundance guys because they've been guests on my podcast, and that I connected with them, through that way. So it's just I feel that having a podcast for me now is almost like the new way of. It's a new coffee meeting. It's like a virtual coffee meeting in one sense. I mean, I'm still drinking my coffee right now with you, doing this podcast.
I got it right here.
Starbucks.
Mine's a chai latte though. I go a little foo-foo. What are you drinking?
I'm very simple. So it's just like, I just got a black coffee and I added an espresso shot to it.
Well, it's funny. You talk about that. Adam Jason was a guest on. He owns the Green Coffee Company down in Colombia. And after he was saying he was raising, I'm like, dude, I'm looking to place funds. So I invested in the Green Coffee Company. And then when I did it, I messaged him like, I don't even like coffee. He's like, I don't like this coffee. I promise you. Okay, I don't see the difference between any coffee ever. Anything espresso tasting, I'm out of it. So,
well, just going back to what you're drinking, does it wake you up enough?
Yeah. I needed it today, man. I got like 3 hours of sleep last night for some reason. I was just like, I was geeking out on something. I don't even remember what it was last night. You ever go into that mode of you're just diving deep on a topic, and all of a sudden it's like 1 a.m, and then I don't know why I popped up at my kind of normal 4 to 5 a.m. time, but it whatever, stupid me. So I got the medium, whatever they call that, venti.
Yeah, the grande.
Yeah.
I always like a grande and a venti cup because it spills in my car. I think I drive too fast.
That's a life hack, man. That's a great life hack. School of Cash Flow on all platforms.
Yeah, it's pretty much I'm syndicated, so I'm pretty much on all the major platforms. Yeah, check it out. I mean, it's I'm always looking for guests to interview as well. For it, if you're in the real estate and investing space, especially if you're an operator or et cetera.
Love it. Yeah, it's funny you say about podcasts. Like when I was thinking of starting one, Pat Hyben asked, "Hey, do you want to?" He said, "quote unquote, help me with the podcast." Like maybe guest host sometimes. And then quickly it became like he's out, I'm in kind of thing. But to your point, I get to meet. I'm like, well, start my own, or I just get to meet all the GoBundance guys who are going to sign up for the GoBundance podcast. Right? I get to do that. And it's already built and established. There's a team behind it. All I have to do is show up. So it was kind of a nice coup for me. But to your point, I do abandon the script a little bit. I rather just chit chat and get to know the guy. Because I think most podcast guests are more interested in your curiosity than they are, the question that everybody wants to know. Because that question, you try to find that question, it's just wonky and weird. It's more like they're there to hear you ask the questions that you're curious about. And I find a lot of value in that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And absolutely. No, it's just kind of funny because right before we started recording and whatnot, I was telling you, I'm out of my comfort zone being a podcast guest. I'm more the podcast host. So it's like, I don't even know what to expect on the other side.
Now
You've been good at me so far. You've been good at me so far.
Thank you. We're about to wrap it. So you're off the hot seat here. I'm going to ask you a question from our lovely GoBundance card game. And this one's interesting. I've never asked this one before. We'll give it a ride. Do you have a bug out bag in case you needed to leave in a hurry with your family? Why or why not? And what's in it? I don't. I can tell you that. I should probably have one, but
my gosh, you gave me like a bug out bag and just I don't have a bug out bag. If I need to leave, with my family. Are we talking about
like the zombies come? Yeah, like the zombies are coming. Do you have a dry food?
You're making me think I mean, I live in, so it's a funny thing. It's like we live in California. There's a lot of earthquakes and stuff and whatnot up here. Knock on wood. It's just so I don't even Here's one of the things I need to working on. I live day by day. I don't plan. I need to plan for like emergencies and stuff like that. So like I can, so that I am prepped for when the zombie apocalypse comes, or when an earthquake comes though too. Sure. I am not prepared.
Got to get a helicopter, man. That's the key. Helicopter, yeah. Up, out, done. You're ready to go.
Can I just call? Like, I mean, can I just? I mean, I just feel like I feel like I should just like, yeah. I feel like I should. I wish I need superhero friends that could just save us.
There's a guy in GoBundance that I was talking to that invested in. It's like a membership, almost like a country club membership for like compounds. They're around the country, yeah. And like, you can just go there if you want to. It's almost like a resort. But if, whatever happens, they literally become like a militarized zone. But you own, like, you can get in because you own a share of it, and they're like fully guarded, armed guards and like crazy. Yeah, it's interesting.
I just learned something right now. Just this, like, I didn't know that we were going to go there. Like, that's amazing. I never knew that existed.
I didn't either. I need to be a better prepper. I have like you, I have like no prep. Like there's a comedian that says like, I'm just, if I buy a bunch of stuff, I'm just buying it for the strongest guy in the block to come take it from me at this point. Right. Like, he's going to take all my water and dry food because I don't know what to do, but I have no prepping skills. But some guys are deep into it, man. They really get into it. So
I'm a go with the flow type of person. It served me well this so far, but I could always improve.
Yeah, there you go. Way to end it, man. I love that. That's the I had a little hiccup there, but that is a great way to bring it to a close. Where can people follow you? Obviously, there's a School of Cash Flow podcast we can find everywhere. What's your Instagram handle? Where do you want folks to direct?
Okay, so yeah, I'm huge on social media. If you want to be entertained by my reels, look at it, connect with me or DM me at Sold by Dale. I'm on LinkedIn, Dale Corpus, and my best email address. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm always willing to network with people, about real estate, investing, mortgages. Drinking or whatever, fitness. It's my email address is dale@keytothebay.com. dale@keytothebay.com.
Key to the Bay. We'll drop that in the show notes along with Sold by Dale and the School of Cash Flow podcast. Dale, amazing, man. You did a great job. You're an amazing guest. So congrats.
Well, thanks.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate you.